Welcome back to Meticulous Mechanic. I woke up this morning early and rechecked all my numbers that I came up with yesterday, and they pretty much match what I got the first time, so I'm going to go with that. The intakes came out at about 5 thousandths, which is within tolerance. None of the exhaust are within tolerance. Cylinder 1 left valve was 6 thousandths and the right one was 3, so that one's super tight. It should be 10 to 12 about. Cylinder number 2 was at 8 and 4, and cylinder number 3 was 9 and 5. So let's get back over here. I turned the crank to 125 degrees before top dead center, and if you want to know how to do that, watch one of the previous videos. So we did all of this yesterday, and you can refer to that video about finding or checking the clearances on cylinder 2 and 3. Now we're going to go over to page 5-9, refer to camshafts. Skipping over to page 5-16, we want to verify that the dots here on the cams line up with these notches on the caps. That last little bit was from actually on the reassembling part, but I haven't taken this apart at all right now, and I have the crank at 125 degrees before top dead center, and I can see the two marks, that mark and that line, and that mark there and the line there. So if we go over to the right side of the engine and we look in, there's the dot there and there's the line. You can see that's lined up. That's the intake side. You can see it lines up on the exhaust tube. There's the dot and the lines. So when we go to put this back together, you have to make sure that is all lined up. So the difficulty will be when we take the cam chain off and remove all these bolts and everything to get the two dots and the lines lined up. If this chain skips a tooth, then they won't be lined up. So ultimately, when we go to reassemble this, we want to rely on the dot and the lines. But I'm going to make a couple other references just for my own sanity's sake. So I'm coming in from the right side of the engine, and you can see this is the exhaust gear. You got this bolt here and one there. I'm going to take a picture of this too, but they're fairly level. You spin over to the intake, you got the 10 bolt there and this 20S. There's no real reference except maybe this hole. 1, 2, 3 holes is somewhat centered there. Also looking at these caps, this cap here has an arrow and an E. That's for exhaust, and the arrow points to the right side of the motorcycle as you're sitting on it. Back here on the intake, it's labeled with an I for intake, and there's an arrow pointing the same direction towards the right side of the motorcycle as you're sitting on it. Over here, I don't know if you get this messed up, but there's a 7 and a 6. These are actually the numbers that you use for the tightening and loosening sequence. Back here you've got a 3, 2, 8, 5. There's the 4 holes where the cylinder head cover mounts. Back here on the intake you got the dot pointing up, and this lobe's sticking straight up into the sky. On the exhaust you have the dot and the lobes pointing down. There aren't too many features on this side with respect to the chain and the gears that I can notice.